just hit it off. Haven't seen you in a long time. I think the last time I saw you was on the football field.
Correct, yeah. For our AIE team, right? Or was it
Yeah,
the
exactly.
intramurals? Yeah.
I think it was like 3 years ago. But yeah, since then, how have you been, man? How's life been treating you? You graduated. What have you done? What have you been up to?
It's good. Life is good. I finished school as in university in 2016. Took, I think it was around 8 months or so off. Just kind of traveled around, went back home to Lebanon to visit my family, all that stuff, and started looking for a job around 6 7 months in, and I found my first engineering job. As you know, I'm a civil engineer by education. So I found a job in geostructural engineering, which is also called shoring. Um, and I started in it was I think February of 2017. After
Interesting.
that, after that I was working for around a year and a half with the company. Um, and then around that time is when I decided, like, you know what, I want to kind of try and do my own thing, just as a test. It's something I've always wanted. I come from like a family with an entrepreneurial background as well, so that's probably why I've always had that like urge, you know what I mean? So yeah, I figured might as well try it out with Empty. The story of Empty needs, I feel like, its own time for sure. But this was around end of February, end of sorry, 2018, October or September of 2018. Yeah, did did that. So I worked full time on Empty for around 6 months or so. Then I went back part time with my engineering job because I gotta pay the bills. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because that's the reality that no one talks about when it comes to these things.
yeah,
Everyone thinks
for
like, oh,
sure.
you start the business next day, you're a millionaire, you're good, you're fine. It's like, no, you gotta figure out ways to like make money, and it's not very easy. A lot of times, it's not very easy. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. That's the thing. Yeah.
Definitely. No,
So
I
yeah.
agree. Let me ask you this before we jump into MT and other experiences.
Sure.
I wanted to know. You said you graduated, then you traveled for 8 months. So I
Yeah.
was thinking of doing that, and I actually didn't. And now I look
Okay.
back, and I'm like, damn, I should have actually taken some time off to like travel more, which is part of my plans moving
Mhm.
forward. But I wanted to know what you thought about that. Did it like help? How was that experience? The traveling and everything. Where'd you go to other than Lebanon?
Traveling was great. Traveling was great. I did a kind of a mini Euro trip.
Nice.
So it was two separate trips, I believe, around Europe. The first one, I went to Greece, to Athens and a small village near Thessaloniki called Nikiti, to one of my friends' place from university. Her parents had like have a really nice house there, and they were like really kind to like invite me over and stuff. So I really appreciated that, and it was beautiful there. Another trip I had, and that's more of a mini Euro trip, I guess, was I went to Italy, where I did Milan, Venice, Cinque Terre, and then I went up to Switzerland, but that was only for a day to visit one of my childhood friends. And then we went together to Berlin, and then from Berlin, he went back, I think, to Switzerland, and I went to Prague for a few days, and that was it, kind of. And then we
Wow.
had a few trips here and there. Musa, you know Musa,
Yep.
Musa and
Yep.
Abdullah, friends from university, friends I went to university with, and I went to Eastern Canada in May. So before the whole Euro trip thing, which was in the summer, in May we went to Eastern Canada. I
Hmm.
went with my family to Orlando to Disney World in June as kind of a graduation celebratory trip. There was at Disney World and Universal Studios, which are both amazing. Like I'd
I've
recommend
heard.
anyone to go, no matter how old you are. It's so amazing to see. And then yeah, I think that kind of covers it. Those were the trips I had. I can't recall anything else right
Dude,
now, but I
that's
tried to jump around as much as I can. In my case, before like I was kind of saving up for my trips because for I think it was like no, not less than that, 4 or 5 years I was in Canada before that.
Hmm.
I was just in Canada. The only trip I was having is just back home to visit my parents. Uh, because I was a permanent resident, right? So you're limited with all, you know how it is, I'm sure, with all
For
the
sure.
visa
Yeah,
complications. When you
definitely.
have a Middle Eastern passport, it's not very easy just to jump around.
It's
So I
not.
was just waiting and waiting and waiting. The second I got the Canadian passport, I like abused it and just going from country to country.
Yeah, man,
Yeah.
you did the right thing. I mean, that's
Yeah.
I got my Canadian citizenship 6 months ago, and then COVID hit, obviously.
Nice.
So
Congrats, man.
thank you. So
Still,
I
that's
couldn't,
amazing. It's for sure. It sucks that maybe you haven't been able to fully
yeah,
make use of
yeah,
it, but it's just having that is a blessing, man. Your whole life changes from the second you get it.
definitely,
It's a very
definitely.
nice
And
feeling.
it sounds like a really good time you had, man. I mean,
Yeah, it was good.
traveling is always a good idea. Like no matter
Yeah,
where you are, where you go, you always make memories. You learn a lot from different people as well. So
exactly. And that trip is where I learned. Sorry to interrupt you there.
no
That
worries.
trip is where I learned that like I enjoy traveling alone just as much as I enjoy traveling with friends.
Oh, really?
That was
Traveling
cool to
alone. Okay,
find out.
I never
Yeah,
did that. Never thought of that. How was that?
it's cool. It's cool. It really all depends on your personality. Are you the
Hmm.
type of person that likes to self-reflect, likes to kind of take things at their own pace, come up with your own plans, stick to it?
Are you like
Then
that?
sure. I am, yeah, which is what that trip helped me find out. Like I've always kind of always knew that I'm someone who enjoys just chilling by myself. You know what I mean? There's a
Yeah.
saying we say back home. It's like, oh, I can have fun with my own shadow. You know, I don't know if you've heard something like that.
This
So
expression, have fun with your
yeah,
shadow. Okay.
yeah,
I
yeah.
I never thought, I mean, I did think about it and I was like, okay, well, when you travel alone, it's like you don't have anyone to share those experiences with because
Mhm.
that's how I thought about it, but at the same
Yeah,
time I've never tried it, so I can't really say that it's not
yeah.
it isn't.
It's not for everyone, but it's always worth a try, in my opinion. But
Mm,
it really depends on your own personality and what you're looking for out of the trip. You
yeah,
know?
yeah. No, I'll definitely give that a try sometime.
Yeah, yeah.
So then you came back and you started empty, you said, right?
Correct. So MT was in 2018, end of 2018, around October or so.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
What
when
was the
I started.
inspiration for that? Was it like something you thought about during your solo trip, or was it something you've always wanted to do? What was the
And
reason
it,
behind it?
it it wasn't really during my solo trip when I thought about it. It was way after I started work. I guess like I say way after, but by that I mean maybe 6 months to a year after I
Yeah,
started. Yeah. Um, it empty was just kind of an idea that just sparked. I wouldn't say out of nowhere because the main inspiration behind it I say was just a book I read, which I'm sure you've heard of. I'm sure everyone's heard of. It's called The Life Changing Magic of Tidying Up. It's by Mary Kondo, the Spark Joy Netflix special host.
interesting.
Not sure if you know it. Yeah, so it was the first book I ever read on the topic of like minimalism and the effects of clutter in your life and how organizing can actually really help. Now, mind you, I've always been an organized person. It's just the way we were brought up. Like our parents were really strict with us about how we organize everything. So I've always been like that, but this took it to the next level. And then I found out that I just followed all the tips in the book and everything, and it really worked out for me. So the idea just came out of nowhere, and it wasn't just myself. It was myself and my my partner, who I co-founded the business with me. Uh, I think her and I were just having a conversation one day, like, oh, like, because she went through a similar experience. She read the book, she applied it, it really helped her out. And then it happened where, just as an idea, I'm like, do you know how this book like really helped us out in this philosophy, this kind of mindset or approach to life really helped us out? Don't you feel like it can help other people out? Right? And which was just discussing it. You know what I mean? It was just like having a conversation while having dinner, and then we found ourselves revisiting that conversation day after day, day
Over
after
and
day,
over.
day after
Yeah.
day. Yeah, and that's what I discovered. That's how you know you might be onto something,
Mhm.
or something's really worth exploring. If your mind keeps on revisiting it, the brain's very powerful, right? Like
Yeah.
if an idea actually sucks, a lot of times, hopefully, I mean, your brain will just block it out, or it'll just realize there's too many obstacles for this. This is not the time to explore this, and it'll just block it out. But in our case, we just kept on, you know what I mean? We just kept on talking about it until we got to a point and we decided, like, you know what? Let's go for it. Let's do it. Like, we don't have much to lose. If there's a time to risk it, it's now. We're still super young. You know what I
That's
mean?
very true, man. That's very true. Most
Yeah.
of the time,
So
you
why
know,
not?
we think about ideas, and this is what I tell my friends as well all the time is we think about a lot of ideas, and then we don't actually act on most of them. They just remain as
Mm-hmm.
ideas, and then that's it, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And
And that's fine, I think, because just like I said, sometimes not acting up on some ideas is actually a good thing. You know what I mean? It's like proof that that idea might not be worth exploring. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, no, no, I agree. It's just like when it only gets to a point where you have brilliant ideas, but you're
Mm-hmm.
not executing on like any of them, then it's like, all right, am I just mostly a thinker or am I also
Mm-hmm.
doing, you know? Because at
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
point you got to start like doing some stuff just to figure out how it plays out, you know, down the road. If it's something useful or not, you'll only
Yeah.
know by trying, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's interesting that you guys like actually did that. So
Yeah.
I wanted to know, like, decluttering your physical space, does it have
Mm-hmm.
any correlation with decluttering your mental space as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, I guess the simplest way to explain it is this: like, in any given instant, your brain is processing a huge amount of information, right? Your brain already does the job and it tries to filter out the things that don't matter.
Hmm.
But sometimes by giving it this extra help, by removing all the clutter, all the things that don't really have to be in front of your face or they just don't have to be there, it's like I feel like you're giving it that extra help. It gives you that you're able to focus more, right? And then I don't know. There's a lot of examples I can give, but like literally, what like one example I like to give sometimes is, you know how there's this idea of like, oh, losing your keys. Like, I don't know where I place my keys, and it produces stress. You start stressing out. You're in a hurry. Blah blah blah. Right? That all has an effect on how the rest of your day might go, even. Right?
Sure.
So let's say in a case where you have this completely decluttered, organized home, and I'm not like, it's all about balance in the end. I'm not talking about this extreme minimalist home that only has like a fucking, sorry, I'm cursing.
No,
Yeah,
it's
has
cool. It's
like
cool.
a chair and a table. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah.
people, when people hear the word minimalism or decluttering, that's what they think about. No, no, it's just having enough, right? And decluttering isn't about what you want to get rid of. It's about focusing on what you want to keep. It's another like thing
Okay,
we always like
focusing
to
on what
say.
you want to keep.
Yeah, it's not about focus. It's not about what you want to get rid of. It's about what you want to keep. So, anyways, when you have that organized home and you know where that key is, it's just it's much more efficient. You're much more productive. You just go pick up the key. You know where to find it. You're good. That's just a very simple example,
Yeah.
right? And then we can go into so much detail, but that's the general gist of it. Now, obviously, this might not be the case for everyone, right? Like, there's no one recipe, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
In the sense where, oh, if you have a decluttered home, you're good. No, no, there's life has so many obstacles that can like just present.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's kind
Okay.
of my take on it. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. And so the work that you're doing right now
Mhm.
as a civil engineer, and you said it relates to shoring. So
Yes.
which one, and feel free to not answer this if it's not if it's personal, but which
Yeah.
one is more important to you at this point in your life? Is it your civil engineering job? Is it, you know, MT, your startup? As in, you know, which one are you more passionate towards, you know?
Hmm. See, passion is a tricky word. It's tough to I'm not too big on this idea of, oh, passion, following your passion, stuff like that.
Okay.
If you want to say which one is more important right now, where I am at life, where
Mhm.
I am 25 years old, super young. I don't understand people who are 25 and go like, oh, I'm getting old. It's like, no, no, you are super, super young if you're
Yeah, that's
25. Go
reassuring to
enjoy
hear,
it.
man. That's very reassuring.
Yeah. Yeah. So 25 right now my focus is, okay, I got to build up my career, you know what I mean? It be it like my engineering career, let's say, I got to save up money, things like that. So the engineering job is important because it helps me build for the future that I want, right? It's not necessarily the safer route too, because as you know, an engineering job isn't an easy job. We don't just go and sit around and do nothing.
No, for sure.
Some engineers go and sit around and do nothing. Let's be honest. But like, like it's not an easy job. But I think it's more important for me right now just to build up my future. You know what I mean? It's the more stable route, but that doesn't mean these side projects like Empty and the drone photography business, which I guess we can chat about later if you want. Um, the like that doesn't mean those aren't important to me. No, those are also very important to me because those give me that, in addition to the sense of purpose I feel for my engineering job, those also give me an even bigger sense of purpose, right? But in the end, they're side projects, right? They're tests. I'm experimenting. I'm figuring out, will this work? Will this not work? And as long as I'm learning something out of it, out of these side projects like Empty and the drone business, then I'm extremely happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, that's and that's really important because to your point, let's say you're doing an engineering job, very rigid, very solid, always fixed in its place, so-called
Hmm.
static for civil
Yeah.
engineers. But the other projects give you that creative edge, right? Because you're able to do
Yes,
what you wish with it, right?
I agree. Yeah, I agree with you. But luckily, my line of work, in terms of the type of engineering work I do, which is shoring, so I'm in a designer role. Uh, so there is a creativity involved with that. There is problem solving. There is creativity. So luckily, I'm able to get that out of that the engineering job as well, right?
That's
Like
nice.
a lot of times, the way I always describe it is like engineering, that's my daytime job. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
what I'm putting so much of my focus on. And I have a couple side businesses, Empty and the civil drone photography business, that I'm just trying to grow, trying to see what I can do with.
Mhm.
You know what
And
I mean? Mm,
sorry, no, go ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I was gonna say, and do you urge people, like, let's say friends who are only doing their daytime jobs and then the rest of the time they're just like not really, they're just chilling, right? Do
Mhm.
you recommend or encourage them to start their own things as well, or is it just like it's
If
not a must?
if they're interested, if they really want to, sure. If not, they want to chill and have fun. Like I tell everyone, like, do you, man, enjoy your life. It's your life. Live it however way you want to live.
Yeah.
I don't yeah, I don't think it's my place, especially where I'm at right now, with given my lack of experience, because let's be honest, a few years of owning a business, like 1 year of owning a business, that's nothing. That's it. Like
Yeah.
you learn a lot, but that's absolutely
But
nothing.
it's still
So
something though, because you got over that hump of starting something. That's the hardest
sure.
part, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I agree there. But a lot of times, I always, like I say this to everyone: if you have an idea that you think is worth exploring, definitely go for it. If that's what you want to do, like 100% go for it. I like urge you to. I'm there to help if you want. Although, just like I said, I only have 1 year experience, so not much help I can offer there. But if you don't want to, it's fine. It really comes back to personality as well. That's what I'm discovering it's all about. There's no right way to go at it, right? You see people who are very happy, they have the daytime job, 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 or whatever it is, or maybe they might have like flexible hours, and they're every 2 weeks they get their paycheck, everything's stable, they're happy, their family's happy. That's completely fine. That's amazing. I'm like really happy for people like that, right? But then there's people who have that itch, like, no, I want to be my own boss. You know what I mean? You
Yeah,
hear those
yeah.
phrases a lot of time, or they go, oh no, I want to own my own business. And sure, like if that's who you think you are, that's what you think you want to do, sure, explore it, but with like it all has to be a calculated risk. A lot of people now push for, there's this hustle culture and there's this entrepreneurial message of, oh, you like, you think you're passionate about something, you like it, drop everything and do it, give all your time to it. You see like Gary Vaynerchuk, and I'm sure like, I'm not like picking on Gary Vaynerchuk specifically, and I'm sure like I've used to listen a lot to him, and he has a lot of useful
For sure,
information
for sure.
and like messages. But sometimes a lot of people might get the wrong idea. Like, oh, I'm gonna drop everything and I'm gonna become an entrepreneur and whatever. And tomorrow, literally, it's gonna take me one day, and I'm gonna be getting all these checks, and success is gonna find me. It's like, no, 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 that's not what it is. You, like, make sure you have your finances in check. That's number one, in my opinion. That's how, when I say
So
calculated
first of
risk.
all, make sure you're financially stable. That's what you're
Yes,
saying.
yes, yeah. And I understand when people say sometimes you gotta risk it. Yes, absolutely. If you're an entrepreneur, you're a risk taker for sure. You're a decision maker, all that. But yeah, there's like a limit to how much I think people should risk,
Hmm.
right?
Okay, interesting.
Like, it's,
No, no,
yeah,
no. That's
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 kind of my
that's
take
fair.
on it.
That's fair.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wanna I wanna dig a little deeper into because I know we talked a little about MT. I wanted to know about your drone business as well. So,
yeah.
what is that? What's the intention behind it? What are you doing with it?
Cool. So the drone business, so photography's always been kind of a hobby for me, right? This is
Mhm.
from around 2012, 2013. I always used to do photography here and there. It's fun and everything. And I gained that like skill, I guess. Which and I started realizing like, oh, how what's one way I can expand on that skill. So one day I got a drone, right? Drones were starting to become big, and they were starting to become cheaper, right? You can get pretty good consumer slash prosumer drones for a good price. So I'm like, okay, let me just get a drone and start taking photos with that. Like in
Mhm.
my like when I thought about it, I'm like, it's cool. You get to fly a camera in the air and take some like shots that no and that's what like all drew was like I guess the main factor that drew
Drew
me
your
towards
attention.
getting a drone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that I can get shots, like unique shots that not a lot of people have. Because it got to a point where I felt like photography, you especially if you check on Instagram or I don't know, uh, I think it was mainly Instagram I used
They're
as
all
a
pretty much the
platform.
same.
You just start seeing the same photo and the same style over and over and over and over again. And I'm like, okay, I'm like, and I would like try to take things I like from this style and that style and whatever, but I realized like, no, I want something unique. So I got the drone and started playing around with the drone and really enjoyed it. Then I think it was around 20, 2019. I think it was the summer of 2019, after I've had my drone for around 6 to 8 months, maybe a bit more. I I realized like I kept on seeing photos on LinkedIn, some cool drone shots of, oh, look at the progress on this construction site. And I realized like, okay, I think the construction industry actually like really relies on drones, but I always thought they relied on these next level like really advanced drones, right? And what I was realizing at the time is that LinkedIn was becoming more and more and more popular. I
Mhm.
feel like the past 2 years LinkedIn really picked up, so a lot of these big construction companies and these developers started posting more. So I just I don't know, put two and two together and realized, okay, I have a drone. I i um how can I explain this? Yeah, like I have a drone. I have experience in the construction industry, right, for my engineering job. And I'm good at photography. I know how to take proper photos, and I think I'll know what they're looking for. So why not just start like a side business and try it out? And then that was it. It was like the drone business idea was very like just quick and simple.
That's
And
a good
luckily,
idea, man. It's
yeah,
goes hand in hand with what you do as well.
yeah, yeah. So I just decided, you know what? I can also get really valuable connections from the people I work with, right? So I work with some principals who have so much experience in the industry. They know these like top industry leading professionals and developers and all that. I figured, okay, that can help me get an in, because you
Hmm.
know how it is. Uh, in like connections are everything. No matter what job, no matter what it is you do, connections are everything.
They're
If you're
important
looking
for
for a
sure.
job, if
They're
you're
important.
working in a job, it's very, very, very important. So I figured this that might help me out a lot. So why not try it out? And I'd start trying it out, and so far, thankfully, like it's only been, I think I've been actively fully doing it for, I want to say, a total of like 6 months or so, and interest has really picked up, which I like. Like it's good to know. Like that's always the most satisfying feeling of starting your own thing, is when you start realizing people are interested in it, and they start paying you for it, and you go like, wow,
You're like,
like
oh, I'm doing
it's
something right.
crazy. Yeah, it's crazy because you start realizing, even with empty, it was the same feeling when we got our first client, right? It
Mhm.
was like, oh, this idea that we came up with and we just talked about, we grew it into something real, and it's making us money. That's one of the
See,
best feelings, in my
that's the
opinion.
power of action, man. That's
Yeah,
the power of acting on your thoughts, because
yeah,
it takes a lot of energy and courage to act on it. Because sometimes you just tell your idea to a friend or family or whoever,
hmm,
and they don't
hmm,
mean bad, but they just
yeah,
they aren't too encouraging about it, and you're like, oh well, okay, so I guess this is not even worth pursuing. But little
yeah.
do you know that I think anything that you propose in the beginning,
Mhm.
people are going to shoot it down, and people are not going to see the value in it until you kind of get some momentum into it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And honestly, one thing I learned, I guess, is that sometimes you're right. A lot of friends and family might bring you down. It's like, what kind of idea is that? That's dumb. But I realized sometimes within those criticisms, let's call them that if you want, there's sometimes people that actually might show you blind spots, things you might be missing with
Very
your
true.
idea.
Very true.
So you can, if you really believe in it, if you really think it'll work, and you've actually gotten some positive responses from some people, listen to the negative responses as well, because
Definitely.
you never know, they might actually end up making your idea much better. Yeah,
That's actually a very good point, because
yeah,
most of the time, we might naturally step back from a negative feedback,
hmm, hmm,
but if it's coming from someone that you actually think is credible, and I,
yeah,
I don't mean to say start like being picky about who you listen to, but at the same time,
of
deep
course,
down, we know who has a credible opinion
of
about
course,
certain things,
yeah,
because they've also been through it.
mm,
So that also helps when you don't know your own blind spots, because you're right,
I
we
agree.
can't see some of our blind spots. That's literally what they are. They're blind spots.
Yep, yep,
So that's
exactly.
that's,
And
that's very,
honestly, and another thing, I feel that yes, credibility is very important, but one thing I learned, man, just that sometimes you need to listen, even though they might not be fully credible or fully knowledgeable. Sometimes you got to listen to people who really care about you. You know what
hmm
I mean? Who
hmm
really care about your uh you doing well. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Like
yeah.
about your own well-being. Like and that's when, for some people, that could be family members, like your father, your mother, your sibling. For other people, it can be really close friends, childhood best friends they've grown up with, or partners. Those are people you should, in my opinion, that you
Take
should
their
also listen
opinions
to, because
seriously.
they really care. They're gonna give you advice that, and they really do care about you. You know
hmm
what I mean?
hmm
So that's important as well.
No, that's definitely good advice, man.
Yeah.
One thing, Tarek. So it seems
Mm,
like with Zoom, if we're two people, the
mm.
time is unlimited. But if we're three
Okay.
people or more, then
Yeah.
our limit is 40 minutes. And right now, Zoom is thinking that we're three people, because we got
Okay.
you and
No
then
worries.
and
So here's what we can do. If you want, I can turn off my camera.
sure, yeah, let's
Yeah.
let's
If
take
if
it from
if you
there.
don't mind, I guess. I
Yeah,
don't know how
go
important that
ahead,
would be to
go
you,
ahead.
but it's
That's
good.
fine. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
okay. All right. Here, let me do this then. There you go.
all right. That's better.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll continue this way.
Mm.
Zoom, the free version of it, that's just the
Yeah.
constraints that it has. So
Yeah. No
sorry
worries.
about the technology
No
issues
worries.
here. But yeah, you're definitely right, man. It's all
Mhm.
about, obviously, taking advice with a grain of salt, but at the same time
Mhm.
looking at the other end of the stick where you're like, I do need to listen to negative feedback as well, or at least
Absolutely.
it's just feedback in general. It doesn't have to be negative or positive. It's feedback. All feedback is good
Yep.
feedback, you know?
Yep. Yep.
That's interesting. Okay.
Hmm. Yeah.
And where can we find your photos? Are you putting them on display for the public to see as well?
Yeah, I am. Thanks for asking. So I have my LinkedIn page. This civil drone photography. That's the name
Okay.
of the business. So you can find that on LinkedIn.
Hmm.
And then there's also the website itself where I try to upload photos to the portfolio there, civildronephotography.ca.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
definitely need to check that out. Um,
yeah, sure.
so
Thanks, man.
overall, how do you feel about this? Are you thinking that you'll work on these businesses as a project and then you let them go and start new ones, or do you want to stick with these in the long run? Or maybe you're like, I don't even have a 10-year vision for that right now. But in general,
Mm.
are you more of a projects person, or do you want to take something and just see it through from beginning to end?
Um, I'd like to think I'm someone who tries to see things through to the end, but sometimes the end might be much closer than you would want it to be.
Yeah.
So, for example, like MT and the drone business, we like MT. We've set it up. My partner and I have set it up in a way where um, it's we're not losing too much by just keeping the business running. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
The, both businesses were providing services, right? We don't have an office, we don't have a huge overhead, we don't have too many software subscriptions. So if the cost is I don't know what it is, like a few $100s a month, or maybe even less. I think it's even much less than that. Then I don't mind about just keeping it on the side. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So with both, we're just trying to see what happens. With empty, if we get to a point where we realize, okay, we're not able to put in the energy that it needs, the focus it needs, and all that, then sure, we might get to a point where we go like, you know what, let's just stop,
Hmm.
and that's fine because every dollar we've spent on the business, we haven't had like any regret about because the way I see it, I would rather spend I don't know how much. Like let's give I don't know fucking it's gonna give UFT a bad name. I think UFT is a great school and everything, but I don't know what's Rotman's MBA
It's
tuition like?
probably 80 grand a year.
80 grand. I would easily easily pay 20 grand on my own business and try to grow that and learn everything there is to learn from running a business than going and paying 80 grand and getting an MBA at Trotman.
I respect that point, man.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
easily. Yeah, yeah. And so that's why if we end up, if I end up closing the drone business, if I end up closing the empty, I have zero regrets because I learned so much. I just consider, you know what? I just paid for an amazing education.
That's
So
that's
whatever.
the way that's the way people need to look at these things, man. Honestly, it's
Yeah.
and to your point, you said
Mm.
earlier, you're young, you have a lot of time, and the faster you
Mhm.
start, the more you learn, and then the better it's going to be down the road because you have tons of experience after that, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You take that experience to any other job. Like everything I learned from MT, I actually apply in my engineering job right
Oh,
now.
really?
So,
Interesting.
yeah, so because I've now taken up kind of a marketing role, and you know what I mean, in the
Hmm.
engineering job I have, and I do a bit of business development. So I learned those skills from MT, for example, just and I'm applying them as much as I can to the engineering job. Which, by the way, I'm not with the same company anymore. I think that's always a fun story to tell. But uh, a bunch of people from the old company I worked with started their own thing,
Hmm.
and then afterwards, what happened is I reached out after they started the company, and I was like, oh, I'm like I always like this idea being a part of something new. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I reached out and I'm like, okay, I'd like to like see what this is about. And then I really like what's going on, their plans, all that. And I just joined the new engineering company, so shoring, same role, everything. But I have these extra marketing responsibilities now, which I really enjoy. You know what I mean?
That's nice, man.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
nice. I mean, joining something new and
Hmm.
being part of a smaller team who has
Oh
a
yeah.
bigger vision of where they want to go, and just starting from scratch has its own kind of pleasure as well, you know,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
rather than joining a corporation, which there's nothing wrong with that too. It's just different experience.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Just like I said, to each his own. Like this is something I always say. This I'm so blessed and lucky that this has been my life the past few years,
Mhm.
and I'm grateful for that every single day. You know what I
That's
mean?
important, man.
But this isn't the only way to go. And this, you know what I mean? Like there's so many different routes a person can take.
Mhm.
So even with my example about an MBA, about not spending 80 grand on tuition or whatever for a Rotman MBA at UFT or wherever it is around the world, if an MBA actually can really benefit a person in their job, you know what I mean? Then sure, go for it. Of course, go for it. You know what I mean? Because there's so many advantages to going to these top schools and getting an MBA because of all the connections you make, things like that. You can get better job opportunities, or you can move up a lot in your own company. So I didn't mean to trash any MBA program before,
No,
but
no, no,
it's
no,
just
for sure,
that's
for
just
sure.
my experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah, to your point,
Yeah,
everyone has different ways they learn, and people
absolutely,
put
man.
different value on different things, right? So you
Yeah,
put value like on experiences a lot, and that's very important.
yeah,
Maybe someone else wants to do it another way, but I
yeah.
think at the end of the day, there's no right or wrong. It's just how
There's no right or wrong.
you want to take your path, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, man. That's these are really interesting. I think we need to book another time together as well to
Yeah,
dig deeper on some topics. But
sure, sure.
I know we're well past 40 minutes now, and
Hmm.
I also know you're busy. I
Hmm.
do appreciate the time, though.
No
It's
worries,
really
man.
good
No worries,
chatting.
man. I appreciate you reaching out and like talking and like I'm always willing to like chat about this stuff, but I think it's great what you're doing as well. Just chatting to people, having conversations, and hopefully this can benefit someone out there. I'm sure it will. You know what I mean? Someone who might be going through
For
a
sure.
similar
I'm sure they've
experience.
learned
I
something
really
from
hope it
it.
does. Yeah, but yeah, keep on doing this, man. Reach out. I'm sure you have a lot of connections. You know, you have a lot of friends who are going and doing great things. So yeah, keep on doing it. And if you want to ever chat again, I'm always like I'm not that busy. And whoever says they're like super busy because of the hustle and they're working 24/7, it's like no, you're not. No one works that much. Like let's be honest.
It's all priorities,
You
right?
know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. I do appreciate the time, though, man.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you for
Yeah.
coming on.
No worries. No worries. All right, then I guess we'll be in touch. Any other question that comes up, let me know. All right, man.
Definitely, definitely will do, man. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Have a good one.
you
Have a good
too.
night.